So I'd frequently go to these advising meetings in the cinema media studies major, now that I was a cinema media studies major. And they're like, hey, Blake, so you're interested in filmmaking. Have you heard of the club called Lux? And then it struck me that he didn't know that I started it. And then I was like, oh, well, I kind of started that. He's like, oh.
Lux is a club for student filmmakers,
where you can come learn more about filmmaking from people who've been trying it out for a long time. If you have a film you want to get made, this is the place to do it.
We do this because this is fun and we enjoy it. There's such a wonderful community and this makes people happy. Or it's something that people want to do for their careers.
Lux fills so many gaps that I feel like the current situation at UW doesn't fill, or at least when I was there.
Being put into groups or projects is sort of the best way to make friends, to meet people when you're all sort of working on something together.
Finding people that care about the stuff that you care about and are willing to put in that energy and get scrappy and make projects, just so fulfilling.
One person could be really good at sound mixing and sound design, or someone could be, really good at acting.
It's important to have friends in creating and not have people in competition with each other. And that everybody's really excited about each other's projects.
There's all these constraints, and when you can make something that you're still proud of despite all that, it's a super cool feeling.
To describe Lux in one word, Lux is
inclusive,
vibrant, aspirational,
passion,
explore,
unity,
outlet,
legit,
mentorship,
luxury,
community,
community.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So Lux this year is 10 years old, which is insane. It's grown so much. It's one of the things I'm most proud of.
To honor the past 10 years of Lux, let's take a look at the club's history to understand how we got here. It's time to meet the people who helped you make films.
All right, let's head out. Try and keep up. Sometimes I go pretty fast.
I thought a lot about what makes up a community and designing the club. And a community is just a bunch of people coming around something that they value.
A lot of the ideas for what Lux became, I think, came from Conch TV, which is a program that Blake was a part of. And it was the television broadcasting class in high school. The skits we would write, the advertisements we would shoot, they were all related to school announcements. But because we had that creative input, it gave us a really creative community that I think fostered what Lux would become.
Basically, it's how I met the entire school, through filmmaking, through video making. I wanted that same type of community of friends to make stuff with in college. And that's kind of when I got into UW and chose to go to UW. That's when I kind of knew, okay, I want to start something here.
So the first meeting was very different than how meetings go about nowadays. It was more so just kind of Blake explaining the club, wanting to explain his dreams and aspirations for it and what he thought about it.
At the university, at the time that I was graduating, there was comparative literature and cinema. And right before I graduated, they switched it to cinema and media studies. And that was it. Or you had communication. So that was pretty much it. There was no educational opportunities that was practical.
A lot of filmmaking clubs, at least college filmmaking clubs, when they're starting, they like talking about making things, but they never actually make anything. So we said, okay, well, we're gonna make at least one film per quarter of just starting off. We gotta make one.
I was trying to help with the structure and organization of things to make sure that there was a framework that could be used to facilitate people making stuff and actually making things and not just learning about it or reading about it, but getting to make stuff. So even though I wasn't a part of the productions, that's okay. That wasn't the point. The point was to make a space so that other people could be part of those productions and help them along the way.
I was excited about that, so I wrote a script and submitted it, and they chose it to be the first quarterly production.
And then we were like, oh, then we can do the showcase and show the films at the end, and that way people are making stuff and they can try out the different roles.
Back then, when it was only one production per quarter, it was a lot tighter knit. They didn't really have set crew positions that people would assume. It was more or less whatever roles everyone wanted.
A lot of the meetings and stuff, the way we planned it, was structured around the productions.
When I was first getting into video production, I was very easily intimidated by a lot of the technical skills, like with camera or audio or lighting. And so I really wanted to make a space that was more accessible to other people. Troy in the comms department, fantastic, shout out to him, because he helped give me some advice and stuff as well. Through the comms department, I could access equipment. And I was like, oh, well then, we'll do a lot with this. So I would rent equipment from there and rent it for the club so that it'd be like, okay, let's do a lighting workshop. We're gonna go over 3-point lighting. Now go up, touch the lighting, do it yourself, get your hands on it and try it. And so it's not so intimidating.
We would brainstorm ideas as to like what we would present to the class. We would reach out to teachers, and a lot of it was us, watching a YouTube video 20 minutes before class and then trying to teach people what we learned. It's a bunch of kids teaching kids and like trying to figure it out on the fly.
One of the first 2 meetings of the year was always, of the quarter actually, was always microfilms, because that was always a hit and that was always a thing to get people involved. That was a thing that Alexis started.
Doing microfilms for a first meeting was the spark that I needed to keep going back to meetings. It was really fun to be paired off into a group of 4 or 5 people, meeting all these new people who had so many fun ideas to create a short film in such a short amount of time.
Like in that moment, because it was such low stakes, having it in that way, I just really enjoyed it. And honestly, I love doing the microfilm challenge so much that I've done it for every year after that. So
the idea of like what is an officer and what an officer does was a very malleable thing that didn't really find its footing, I think, until about 5 years into it.
We figured out the different core pillars of Lux. Like you have someone who is in charge of production, someone who's in charge of operations, marketing, and then also the president leading the club. Those were the 4 roles that really just evolved.
The operations officers are there for the day-to-day running of the club. So that's like the actual club meetings, who comes in as guests, or what the topic of each meeting is, any fundraisers, any socials, as well as the end of quarter screenings. The operations officers are the ones who are responsible for that kind of thing. Productions are focused on the actual process of making the films themselves. They're there as oversight for the directors and producers during each quarter's run. The marketing officers are kind of in a self-explanatory way responsible for the introduction of the club to new members. So that is putting our name out there for events, for socials, collaborating with the CMS department for social media posts.
Being an officer in that second full year of the club involved a good amount of debating as to what direction to take the club. Some of the officers were very ambitious, and others wanted to focus the mission a little more.
Once all of us leave, I want to make sure this keeps going. The whole goal is that it's bigger than any one person, that it keeps going.
You want to make sure that not only does it stay around, but it also kind of maintains the values you felt make it so special.
Throughout COVID, I was just trying to keep the club together and keep some sense of community.
For a lot of members and students, Lux's online meetings were the only community they really had.
We had these remote film replication challenges, I think it was, where we would take a scene from a movie and divide it up into several sections, and everybody was supposed to replicate just that chunk of the scene.
I admittedly went overboard and I think lost a little bit of the point of the recreation, but
it's really hard to filmmake on teams remotely. It's really, really hard. So I was just trying to keep a sense of community and keep the club together, which now I'm so happy to hear that the club has grown so much, because at the time I was just trying to keep the sense of community.
Throughout the club's history and just making films in general, money is a big issue. And I think being a business major, I was like, okay, I'm gonna tackle this issue and I'm gonna make sure that we are set financially. And we were able to raise a good amount of money to set the foundation for Lux financially, as well as negotiate a partnership with the Cinema and Media Studies department for them to actually back us financially.
When I was in my engineering classes, I was learning programming languages, and I was like, oh my gosh, we should systematize the way that we get placed on productions, because it was very just haphazard.
All the officers gather in a room, they talk about, oh, this person should go on this team, or this person should go on this production, back and forth like that. It would take hours. Rachel kind of built the first prototype algorithm, and I kind of just took that and aligned it with the Google Forms that we use, standardized the process, and made it kind of nice and more user-friendly.
Our combined biggest legacy was getting more productions through the finish line every quarter. That was something that I noticed in the past and really frustrated me, was oh, a lot of these really good films are getting started, but then nothing's getting finished or displayed or promoted.
When I became president, what I wanted to do was experiment with the ideas that members had had for a long time. And in winter, we started the Lux 60 competition. This would be a time film competition similar to the 48-hour ones you see hosted around the world.
Lux 60 was awesome. Yeah, great vibes.
We don't talk about that Lux 60 experience.
No, actually, let me rant about it, okay? It was so bad. I hate Seattle's weather so much. When we planned everything.
It was so
We
bipolar.
planned everything.
It was definitely intense. It felt like, we kind of got everyone on board being like, okay, this is what we're doing with our weekend.
Yeah.
And not a lot else. And so that was kind of interesting to get used to, because other film productions through Lux are not really that way.
In the spring, we held the Luxies, an award show very similar to the Oscars, Emmys, etc. The first Luxies were organized by Natalie, Andrew, and Rohan. Natalie and Andrew being the main showrunners, and Rohan managing the vote system.
The Luxies, I love the Luxies. I would say that's my baby at Lux. That is what I want my legacy to be, is the Luxies.
It's so cool to see everyone get dressed up and get to see people have their moments of recognition for their work.
So a lot of our film award categories are directed from the Oscars, cinematography, directing, actor, that kind of thing. But we also adjust. So our categories are best actor and best supporting actor. Those are both gender neutral, rather than actor, actress, supporting, and lead. It's nope, just lead and supporting, gender neutral.
I remember actually being very scared of starting Luxies because I didn't want the club culture to change in a way that de-incentivizes less experienced filmmakers to do their thing. Fortunately, the opposite effect happened, in which people were motivated to make more interesting things because they saw a more material validation for their work.
Obviously, a lot of people on this club are going to go on and do great things, but also for a lot of people whom this might be more hobby, like myself, this is something where this might be the only chance for you to win an award for your work.
But additionally, we threw in some joke categories as well, because it's funny.
My sophomore year, I won a Luxie, the only one, but I love it. It was Best Mental Breakdown, when they still did the fun categories. And I was really proud of it though, because my mental breakdown happened off screen. You could only hear me.
I finally won my first Luxie this year, and I was out of the country. I couldn't pull up, but it was still really, really cool to wake up to that news. It did feel good. My efforts were rewarded, so I really appreciated that. Yeah, for sure.
That year was the first time I think we had every screening at Regal.
I actually work at Regal Cinemas. Different boss at the time, but he was super cool about it. Was just put me in touch with the president, who was you at the time.
Going to Regal, the first time I went there, I was like, wow, this is next level. It's I feel like I'm actually in a real big theater.
Wild to see your face on the big screen too.
The theater was completely full. There was people sitting on the sides, and there was still people who really wanted to get in.
That's always the dream, right? Seeing your name as the credits roll down on the big screen.
The relationship's stronger than ever, gone from end of year screenings to end of quarter screenings. I think it's been a win for everyone involved. Great for members to see their work on a much bigger screen, and great for the theater to have a sold out auditorium for once.
The club had already left kind of an outstanding impact on me, where I was like, this has already shaped so much my college experience. When I would go home on the holidays and people were like, what are you doing in college? I'm like, I'm in a film production club. It's so cool. That was the number one thing I wanted to talk about. Classes, who cares about this? Look at this club I'm in.
The first meeting that we had this year, so many people were there, and that was so cool.
I feel like I got to work a little bit with everybody in the club. Because as much as I love working with a good solid crew, I love being able to meet new people, which is one of the reasons why I love film so much, because you get to collaborate and create with new folks when you make new stuff.
At the beginning of the days, I wouldn't know anybody, and then by the end of the weekend, I would know what their mom's favorite meal is, because you spend so much time together.
Every film person is network. And networking as a term is scary. But it's more about making friends and showing up to set and showing you're ready to do whatever needs to be done for the day. And when you have that attitude, people are going to recommend you to other people. And it just kind of keeps going around, especially in Seattle. It's a really small, tight-knit film community, so once people start to know you, it helps a lot.
I'm so grateful for it as a buffer point for where I am in my life, because right now things are kind of difficult outside of Lux. Like being able to have safe space I can come back to and still work on things I like and that I love, and being with people that I enjoy working with is actually really, really helpful.
There are some weeks where like I've got a bunch of homework or I've got other stuff going on. I'm just really stressed. And sometimes I'm like, oh, like I don't know if I want to go to Lux. I never regret it because I go and I get to just like de-stress for an hour or an hour and a half, and I get to see my friends and we get to catch up and laugh and have a good time.
I do think we've had past quarters where it was maybe a bit too informational heavy.
I remember freshman me so excited about this club and so excited to keep participating, and I just think, how can I nurture that and foster that for more people to come?
Sometimes we'd have meetings where it was just like, man, everyone's here, but everyone's just talking to the people they know. So I kept trying to have meetings where people would be forced to talk to one another. I'd be like, wahaha, I've designed this meeting where you have to talk to someone you don't know.
Every quarter I've been here, the films have just gotten better and better and better.
Going from short films that are just like about college experiences to space and 60s coffee commercials.
Within the stories we're telling, like we're seeing more diverse voices getting the chance to tell their stories than what we maybe would see out of school making films where you have to pay $80,000 a year just to even go there.
Sometimes when you read the scripts, you have to be like, I'm sorry, this isn't gonna work for a college setting. I hope one day we don't have to say that.
You don't have to have the best camera to have a really good story. And I feel like a lot of times people focus on like, okay, the moment you have money, oh, I can rent so-and-so the best camera, get, you know, this lighting setup and everything. But one of the most valuable things from Lux is knowing how to operate a zero, if not negative budget film.
Yes, you want to make money eventually, but like the goal is to learn. And I think when you do that with constraints, when you do that with a low budget, when you do that with other people who aren't in it for the money, but they're there because they want to get better and they want to learn more, I feel like that just adds to the community aspect.
If it's able to maintain a balance of those two things somehow, like professionalism and giving people a path into the industry for realsies, while also being a safe space for people who are just doing it as a hobby, have never done it before, that's like best case scenario. So seems like it's heading in that direction, and I'm here for it.
Sometimes I think about if Lux wasn't there when I was in school, what would I do? And I honestly think that my life would be completely, totally different.
The experiences that I've had already have like shown me that I love being on set and like I want to be on set more in my life. So I feel like it's helped me in my career to like kind of motivate me to try to find more job opportunities like that.
I met Remy on the day that everybody was pitching their project. We finished shooting after hours, I think fall of 2022. And then when the year turned and became 2023, we founded Tommy Productions. Together, you know, we did photo shoots with people, we did events like concerts, and now we collaborate with Lux to host community screenings.
Being an officer for Lux was definitely like a foundational step that has helped me in my career so far. I've had quite a few different roles, like in the marketing and communications world. It's all about, you know, can you work with other people? Film is a really collaborative thing. I mean, it's very hard to do everything by yourself. I would not recommend it.
It made me realize that filmmaking maybe is not the exact form of like creative outlet that I want, but like something creative. And then I guess it sort of like sent me down like the path of like where I am now at Complexly. So
I'm currently a finishing producer in episodic at one of the world's largest finishing facilities. And so, you know, getting to this position where I've worked really hard to get here, it wasn't necessarily the hard skills that I learned because I'm not out there shooting anything. I'm mostly talking to people and planning things and managing things. And I think that all came from Lux.
I used to be in advertising sales. So I worked at BuzzFeed, I worked at Shutterstock, and then I worked at Giphy, the gift company, for a bit. And then I transitioned out of that. But it was a really great 5-year stint in advertising sales where I worked a lot with short form content. I worked a lot with filmmaking in an aspect that is very corporate and commercial.
I started Edit Hers, which is basically just a community for women that do specifically YouTube video editing. And I had found a lot of happiness in working for other women that were doing like more women's content, like whether it was beauty or lifestyle or fashion. And they were like, do you know any other girls that do what you do? And I was like, honestly, no, I know like 2. And so I started that community, and that has grown. Now we have 250 people in it. We literally have like women editors from a ton of top YouTube channels in the world. It's actually crazy. It's so cool. Very, very niche community, but it's like, it's been so fun to like grow that.
In making this documentary, I talked with both old and new members. Some old members I never even knew. It was always fun to see their reactions to the things that didn't exist, but now do. One example is the quarterly budgets.
Oh my God, we never had any money. We didn't have anything. Oh my God, fantastic.
I talked with the new members, and they're surprised that Crafty was never promised for a few years.
Props to you guys for getting through without even being able to buy Domino's. I mean, like, I'm very dependent on that Domino's budget.
Oh yeah. If you don't have pizza on set, it's not a Lux quarterly.
There you go.
Like genuinely, like you need Domino's. You need Domino's as medium, $6.99 deal. Yeah.
There's a lot of traditions in the club that aren't properly credited. For example, the Instagram takeovers. That was Megan's first idea as an officer. The land acknowledgement notes in the meeting slides, that's Abby's contribution.
Do they use my slides?
Yeah! Oh my God! She will never die.
These members who contributed a lot would graduate and move on, so no new member would get to know them. So it's no one's fault, but just the system of student-led clubs.
But I think it's beautiful that we like cared so much that we tried to smother it and we had to like let it breathe.
When I left the club, when I graduated, I wanted to kind of keep building it from afar. Or I just knew that like this thing that I started, I was like, it felt really special to me.
It's like, it's very easy to like create a club and then just like kind of leave it alone. Or just be like, you know what, other people will like pick it up or whatever.
And one of the unique things that I did when I was graduated is I became high school teacher. And I started to do kind of the same things that I did in the club. And then cut forward years later, I'm now the off-campus advisor. We get to champion how Lux fits into the bigger Seattle filmmaking community, because I'm also trying to build stuff at Harbor Island Studios and trying to build film. I think honestly we're trying to build a new film industry.
I'm really fortunate and feel really lucky to be part of this group.
Great to still see it going 10 years later. From what I've seen on the outside, it seems like for the most part it's just gotten better over time and stuff. And so I just kind of look on that proudly, thinking that what we did had a big impact on what the club is now, and it kept it going and stuff, and it's seeing it still go strong 10 years later is pretty incredible.
I think really goes to show like how much it means to people, because they're just keeping it going of their own accord.
Lux isn't just a club for people that want to work in filmmaking.
If anybody's in Lux right now watching this, I really, really highly recommend that you direct a film. It seems like so intimidating to be like the person in charge, but you come out the other end like, wow, I really did that. Like I led the whole team, and it's really cool to just see like what you're capable of making, basically.
Don't be afraid to get a little silly. Have fun. Talk to people you don't know. Ask them like why they joined. It is a great place to meet people.
If you can just kind of come back, if you graduate, if you want to come back and just connect and just talk about your experience making movies or talking about your experience, that alone is enough. I think that alone is amazing.
You really need to hone in this space, take advantage of the time that you have in this club, because it's really something that helped me shape my entire college experience. And I think it would be a great way for you to define your college experience as well.
I said Owen's biggest achievement should be that got us together because of Lux.
You should say that.
Yeah, that's what Owen's biggest achievement.
Say it.
I lost a brother.
Now it's us.
You lost a sister.
That's okay.
I was interested in operating a boom.
So you're the first boomer.
I guess, yeah. I'm the first boomer.
Cool, I just want to soundbite.
Wait, isn't this like 10-year anniversary or something? Lux, Doc, 10 years.
Lux has been.
I don't remember marrying Lux. Doc.
What?
10 years.
Why are we having an anniversary if we're not getting married?
What?
Take one. Take one scene.
Take one scene.